Welcome to Deadly Dames, and today we're doing a review for the Geek Legion of Doom's channel of a movie called Bloody Ballet. This was actually a film that Claire and I watched last night. However, Claire's working, so you've just got me doing the review. This film is a bit of a strange one. The opening scene was very good, so let's firstly start with the premise of the film. I just jumped straight in there, but let's go back with the premise of the film. It's about a girl who witnessed the death of her parents. And this is why I started with the opening scene, because the opening scene is very good. It sort of starts with this young girl who is getting taken away by police officers, and from the horrible scene of death, her two parents with their, and I'm going to try my best not to spoil this, with their eyeballs missing, and you could tell that the director of this movie was a big fan of Giallo and also a really big fan of Suspiria, and I'm going to say a big fan of Neon Demon. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure these were movies that he was a fan of. The music kind of gives that away as well. I actually really liked the music in this film, but I actually really liked the opening sequence as well. And then that's kind of all it gives you with the premise of the film, and then it jumps forward in the future. And you see what it allows you to know is the young girl as an adult, and she's sitting with her counsellor, and she's talking about how she has nightmares and she's struggling with these visions, and the counsellor sort of tell her to take her medication, and talking about how she's now at a ballet school and she's got the lead in this ballet performance, and very strong Suspiria vibes here, and also quite strong Black Swan vibes at this stage. And again, very intrigued by the storyline at this stage. Now, at this stage, I'm still really wanting to know what's going on with the film, and it's still really good. I mean, as I said, you could tell the director is a big Giallo fan. There's also, when we start to go on with the storyline, you're introduced to her friends, and you could definitely feel the Giallo. The whole way through, you know, the director and the writer, who's the same person, I'm pretty sure. I'm actually pretty sure, because you see the guy's name all the way through the credits at the beginnings, like the producer, director, writer. And you could tell that he's put a lot of heart and soul into this movie. It was obviously a very passion project into it. Now, there's a lot of jumpy dream sequences sort of back and forward. There was one, well, I'm going to stick to the things I liked first of all. I actually quite like the lead character. I think she's believable in the sense that she's obviously going through a lot of turmoil, and she's believable in that she's quite lost, and she's quite in, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this, she's damaged is probably the best way to put it, and that she's in trouble. There was a sequence quite early on where she goes back to the ballet school and she's sort of daydreaming, and she looks up at the stage and she sees herself. This was actually quite David Lynchy. David Lynchy is a good way to put it, but she sees herself on the stage, but she's still sitting on her seat, and then she kind of gets up on the stage but still in her seat and starts dancing as a ballet dancer but in her normal clothes. It's quite funny as well, because in my head that sequence was also Footloose, you know, the scene where he starts dancing in the barn. That's the scene that popped into my head. I don't know why, but it was. But it was like Footloose meets David Lynch. It's the only way to describe it. But I really liked it, the scene. But there was really some fantastic visual scenes in this movie where and some really horrible graphic scenes with where the killer was attacking people. There was a good scene in it where one of the drunk girls, was actually a missed opportunity with this scene as well, where two girls were out for the night, two friends of the ballet school, and this is where you could tell he was a fan of Suspiria, because it was all set around about this ballet school. And this is where the missed opportunity was for me, because if it was very cliche with this part. There was two friends out for the night, and he followed the drunk one home. I thought it would have been perfect opportunity for not to have been the drunk one that was the victim, and for it to be the sober one, because in movies it's always the drunk friend that ends up being the victim. Why not have been you think it's going to be the drunk friend, but actually no, what, it wasn't her, it was the sober one. But that was just me that thought that. But there was a really creepy scene where she was listening to music, and of course you get the classic here's some boobs scene. But it would have been really good to have seen sorry, as I was saying, she's listening to music and the sunlight stopped. I quite liked that, actually. Although she was reading a comic book, which I thought, that's unusual. But the way that he killed people in this was actually really disgusting. So the actual effects were really good. I don't want to give too much away, but practical effects were actually very good, considering that this probably didn't have the highest budget. Now, the killer themselves, Giallo through and through. And they were the things that I really liked about this movie. I loved the music, as I said. I actually really liked the lead character. Caroline Williams is in this. I liked her character, and that will lead me straight into some of the things I didn't like. I actually liked Caroline Williams' character. I thought she was highly underused. I thought that there was probably, and I might be wrong with this, I think there was probably more to her character that perhaps ended up not being in the film as much. It almost felt like her character was supposed to be more and just ended up not being in it. Because it felt like there was something missing with her in the movie. I'm not actually entirely sure whether he was a police officer or a reporter, but there was like flashes forward in time of like this guy investigating, and it was completely out of this. It felt out of sync of the story, and it threw off the whole vibe. And I just felt like he wasn't needed in the storyline. I would have preferred he wasn't in it. There were certain parts of the dream sequences that didn't fit in with the movie. This, as I said, this felt like a passion project of the director, and I'm not taking anything away from it, because I loved the music, and I loved the special effects, and I actually really loved that he obviously was, because you could tell the whole way through this that this guy was a horror fan, and I picked up in like almost every horror vibe. I mean, he's a big Giallo fan. If you're a fan of Giallo, you're going to love a lot of the little nods to Giallo. But there was dream sequences in this that I just thought wasn't needed. And a lot of the time, you didn't pick up what was going on until... And I know that kind of happens with murder mysteries, but there was like a big part of the storyline that really you thought, I'm lost. I'm really lost in this movie, until it clicked. Which is fine, because that kind of happens in movies, but when it happens so much that you've literally kind of lost interest until it clicks, you've lost your audience. The thing that kept me hanging on in this movie was the effects and the music. I was like, this is keeping me going with this, because I really enjoyed the music. I was like, this music's keeping me going, and the effects were fantastic. There was a really good scene right at the end, well, not quite right at the end, where her and her friend, I don't want to give it away, and I just thought, this poor girl didn't deserve this, which I really, really liked. As I said, there was certain aspects of this movie that were fantastic, and it almost felt like if you could take out some of the other things, this movie would have flowed perfectly. But there was a lot in this movie that I really, really loved. But overall, I actually really enjoyed the movie. There was one thing about the end, again, not taking anything away from that, I just thought, I don't get it, but that was just me. But overall, as I said, I really liked this movie. You could tell that the guy that made it was a Giallo fan. He was a horror fan. He was definitely a fan of Suspiria. He was definitely a fan of, in my opinion, Neon Demon. Definitely the opening sequence was a big triangle that appeared in Neon Demon's like little triangle, and the music's it sounded like Neon Demon. When you see the killer, you'll go, okay, this is like Blood and Black Lace and all sort of movies with killers like that. I think that it tried maybe a little bit too much with the dream sequences and the twists and the turns. I would have preferred that they didn't have certain aspects in it, but that's just me. I think if I was to rate this movie, I probably would give it a 6.5 out of 10. I'm not taking anything away from the film, because In fact, that's probably been a little bit, 7. We'll give it a 7 out of 10 for the effects. The effects were really good. They were really gory and bloody. But they were really good. They were quite nasty in parts, actually. I just thought, oh, poor people. Poor people. They didn't deserve that. The music was really, really good, as I said to you. The score itself was fantastic. The opening sequence I really enjoyed. There were certain sequences in this film that I really liked. There was creepy sequences, but there was also certain sequences that were running through the movie that I just thought I didn't think they were necessary, which kind of took away from the overall feel of the film. That it was a shame, because if they weren't there, in my personal opinion, this movie would have been fantastic. As I said, there were certain characters, like the Caroline Williams one, that I just felt was a little bit underused, or I'd like to see more of her. But as I said, I would recommend it. I would recommend watching Bloody Ballet. It was certainly a really interesting watch. And I didn't think it was a bad movie. I thought it was really good. It was a good sort of modern take on Giallo, and you could tell it was made by a Giallo fan. I'm glad I picked this one to watch and review. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed my review of Bloody Ballet, and if you enjoy Giallo films and you're a fan of any of the movies that I've mentioned, you will more than likely like, that was a hard sentence to say, but you will more than likely enjoy Bloody Ballet. But as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and take care.